What's up, YouTube? This is Stay Low. Happy Good Friday. And today I want to talk about something that I've been having intimate discussions with my girlfriends in regards to the type of men that they're meeting. And, I just felt so passionate to have a discussion about it with you all because this is something that me and my friends are pretty much all going through at the age of between 24 and 27. And so we all have a general consensus, or we feel that we have a general consensus that we want a serious relationship. We want to be wiped up. We want to, we don't want to play any more games. And so we all have our graduate, we all have our professional degrees, and we're kind of out there in the work field for our first year. Most of us, our first year, are getting ready to go out in our first year. So we are the professional black women. So when I was having this conversation with one of my good friends, we she met a guy, and this guy is 34. He is going to have his PhD in the fall, and he's single. And she described him as being, and she sent me pictures. She described him as being a pretty tall, maybe 6 foot, a little bit taller, light brown skinned man, not a lot of facial hair, clean cut, nice, nice clothing. He was wearing a suit in the pictures that I received, and I was definitely attracted to him. Now, she described some of his actions as being a little soft, that he laughed a lot, that he, didn't over complimented just a little bit, that he had very good posture, and that in the recent week or so of meetings, that he's been pretty consistent about taking her out on dates. And her complaint to me was, well, you know, I'm sure that I'm marriage material to him, but he's just not my type. I'm used to guys that have swag, that have the sex appeal, that, you know, do not tell me their feelings. He told her that she makes him feel special already, that he looked forward to seeing her. And another thing, let me just add, is that he asked already a couple of serious questions, or I like to call them tests. One being that if he planned on living in his house, and basically would that be enough for her as a wife? And she says, how much will a wife cost you? And they were kind of joking around, and he says, well, hopefully it wouldn't cost me anything. And, what do you think about me saying I want to stay in my house for the rest of my life because I won't make that much money? Another comment he asked her about was her sexual activity in the past. So, she was concerned, and she's been down the road with bad boys because, like I said, if you listen to some of my other videos, it does take time for us to mature. So, usually, we may have a good time, just like the men may have a little bit of a good time. We're definitely not whores or prostitutes or have kids or hopefully STDs, but it does take us some time. So she doesn't want to deal with the bad guys. The bad guys haven't got her anywhere. That's including the professional black men who were immature and were playing games. And then that also includes the guys that might have had an undergraduate degree, but they were pretty much settling for the jobs they had, and they were bad guys with swag. So this is what I told her. I said, when it comes to this guy, you have to understand that you are not going to get everything you want or desire, because this is new ground. This is not someone that you know. This is not something that you're used to. This is not a man you're used to. You are used to being approached, hey beautiful, hey sexy, you look good, talking to you crazy. She told me today one of her guys said something like, I haven't even kicked you out of your own house before. Just talking in a very demeaning and alpha male type of way, or being extremely persistent, too sexually persistent, running a lot of games. And she says, well, he's nerdy and he's a bookworm. I said, well, you know what? This is something new, but it's okay because this is the kind of guy that is going to respect you. It's okay to have good posture. It's okay to talk. It's okay to express yourself. And do you want to know why? Because this is the type of man that has learned through maturity and also through his family upbringing that it's okay to be a black man in America and express yourself. You don't have to be hard. You don't have to have a gun in your pocket. You don't have to have tens of thousands of women you're talking to. You don't have to have a brand new Porsche to determine your manhood. They have received adequate love and affection and care, so they understand that their worth as a person is worth more than material things or any type of gain. So I tried to explain it to her and say, if this is something that makes you uncomfortable and you're not used to, it's probably a good thing. And to go on dates with them, to take your time, you got to consider his age. He's 34. You're in your mid 20s. I think that it's a pretty good situation. And another thing I told her, and women, I hope you're listening. When your friend tells you otherwise, they're not a good friend. It's common sense that somebody that has got themselves together is expressing their feelings to you in a good manner, not overdoing it. That is, and we talk about the materialistic professional women. This guy is taking her to very nice 5-star hotels, has taken her out. He has his own home. So he already marks those things. But he is also asking serious questions because he's looking for someone that's respectable themselves. And see, you're not going to have a lot of these conversations with a guy that really wants you short term. See, he's not interested in how many partners you've had or what you've done in the past or what do you consider a good wife and a good husband or what do you consider what do you consider to be materialistic and unmaterialistic. They don't want to know that. He's a guy that's trying to figure out if your qualities match his. And that's going to be a big determining factor. And so we had a conversation and we elaborated a little bit more on what he was getting to. And see, that's the thing between men and women for the most part. When men are deciding to have a wife, they will not tell you exactly what they're doing, girls. They're going to indirectly, by questions or by watching you, decide if you're the one. They make up the decision. Most of us go along with the flow until he overtly does something and we tell him about it. Like, well, you're not calling me. No. If a guy sees, party girl behavioral characteristics, then he'll just slightly change his behavior and move on. So, or move on in the short term. You'll be considered a short term girl. So I want to also talk about that too. A short term girl. What's a short term girl? What's a long term girl? And how do the two meet and how do they exchange positions sometimes? And when you're dealing, one of the key signs of seeing a long-term man, a long-term committed man, is that he's going to be very serious up front. Or when you start talking about serious things, he's not going to run from it. So, once again, women, if it makes you feel uncomfortable and it's a little strange, and you're trying to figure it out and you don't want to move backwards, then move forward. And that guy who's a lame or a nice guy, you might say, oh, well, that's not my type. But be careful when you mean what you mean by type, because maybe that's not what you want, but it's what you need. So think about that and get back to me.